All right, well, let's look at an example that's different now, right? So it says, obviously, how is this one different? Okay, well, this one's different because our a value is no longer 1, right? So remember, we have our standard form of a quadratic equation or quadratic expression is ax squared plus bx plus c, right? And our a value is no longer 1, right? So if we write down our a, b, and c here, my a value is 2. My b value here is positive 11, and my c value here is 5, right? And so I'm going to make my x chart just like before, right? I know we did that before, okay? But let's think about this, all right? So I'm just going to write out my two factors here, I guess. I know that my first times first, well, first of all, both of them have to have x in them, right? Because I know that I have to get that x squared. Right? Now look at the numbers that you multiply together to get 2, right? Well, 2 is a prime number, right? So 1 times 2 is really my only option. Okay, so I'm just going to take 1 and 2 here, right? So if I multiply these two together, I know that I will get 2x squared, okay? My last times last has to equal positive 5, okay? Well, positive 5, again, that's a prime number. You can only multiply it. 5 is only divisible by 1 in itself, okay? So I know that I have to have plus 1 and plus 5, but I'm not really sure which order, right? So I'm just going to put plus 1 and plus 5, I guess, and maybe FOIL it and see what happens, okay? So see if I'm correct. So I'll take first times first, will give me 2x squared. My outside here will give me a positive 5x. My insides here will give me a positive 2x. Last times last will give me a positive 5. And if I combine like terms, I get 2x squared plus 7x plus 5. That's not right, okay? And so maybe you have to try something else, okay? I mean, I know for a fact that the first times first here, right, this 1x and this 2x, I know for a fact that gives me 2x squared, right? The last times last, I know for a fact I have to get 5, right? What if I switch the 5 and the 1 around like this, a 5 and the 1, and I put pluses here, okay, and I can just sort of see what I get, right? So now, first times first, this time is going to give me 2x squared, right? And my outsides here are going to give me a positive 1x, okay? My insides here will give me a positive 10x, and then last times last will just give me a positive 5, okay? Well, if I combine like terms this time, I get 2x squared plus 11x plus 5. And I can see, hey, that's my original problem, okay? So this is my answer that has to be correct, okay? So mathematicians, they call this the guess and check method, right, for factoring. And you can see, really, I was just sort of taking educated guesses there and figuring this out. And this example is really pretty easy because first times first, at least the coefficient of 2 anyways, is a prime number, and last times last here is a prime number, and it's pretty easy. There's only a couple options. I just switched a couple numbers around until I found the right answer. Well, the truth is, this is very time consuming. It can be very, very time consuming, which is not all bad. Okay, we think about the problems, and that's important, I guess. But there's really a quicker way to do this that just sort of follows an algorithm, okay, to solve, okay? And I'll show you how we can do this here, okay? Now, really, this is the same problem now. I have 2x squared plus 11x plus 5, okay? And there's this algorithm that we can do that actually works here, okay? And, obviously, again, our a, b, and c, our a equals 2, our b is 11, and our c is 5, just like last time, okay? What I call this the bottoms-up method. Okay, so I call it the bottoms-up method, right? So bottoms-up, like you're, drinking water or something. I don't know. Okay. So again, we'll keep it appropriate, right? Drinking water, right? Or drinking your milk at lunch, your chocolate milk. Okay? And so let's take a look at this bottoms-up method and how we can use this. So here's how it works. Okay, and I'm going to write the steps up here. Okay, and for the steps, the first thing I'm going to write is x chart. Okay, we're still going to do the x chart here. So the x chart is going to go the same way as before. We're going to multiply to a times c, and those same two numbers have to add to b. So a times c, 2 times 5 in this case is 10. We add to our b term, which is 11. Okay, And what are our numbers? Well, our numbers are going to be 10 and 1, because I know that 10 times 1 is 10, and 10 plus 1 is 11. Okay? Now the next thing we're going to do, step 2, is just we're going to write out your numbers that you got. Okay, so I'm just going to write out these numbers. I'm going to write out 10, and I'm going to write out the number 1. Okay? Now the next thing we do is I'm going to say divide. That's not divide, sorry. Okay, I'm going to write divide by a value. Okay, so our a value here, remember, is 2. So I'm going to take both of these numbers here, and I'm just going to divide by 2. Okay, my next thing here, number 4, is going to be reduce the fractions, if possible, right? We are not always going to be able to reduce the fractions here, but I know that 10 over 2, I'm actually going to reduce this to 5 over 1. And 1/2, I'm just going to leave as 1/2. Now this is the part where we actually call this the bottoms-up factoring method, okay? What I want you to do is just write out a parentheses like this, and since this is a positive 5, I'm just going to put a plus right here, okay? And I'm going to move this 1 up to the top, that's bottoms up. Now this is going to be the coefficient to x in my factor. So 1x plus 5 is our first factor, okay? Now again, we'll write a parentheses up here just like this, okay? I'll write this plus 1, and this is going to be the coefficient to x, so 2x plus 1. All right, so our final answer is just what we got last time, right? It was x plus 5 and 2x plus 1, right? And obviously, we can always check with FOIL, right? So make sure that x times 2x is 2x squared. My outside, I get positive 1x. Inside, I get positive 10x. And last times last, I get positive 5. When I combine like terms, I know that I am 100% correct, okay? So again, that's the bottoms-up factoring method, okay? In the next video, we'll go through 3 more examples.